Hey, everybody, this is the Carl Experience. I decided to make another podcast for you today. We are doing this live from where I live. Because, I still have chores to do today, but that's part of adulting, so, yeah. Okay, today I want to address a very bizarre offhand topic that I heard 3 or 4 of my friends talking about and decided to address this full head on, kind of like jumping into a cement pond, but with more headway. Today's episode, unlike the other mini episodes of yesterday, this one is pretty much about people who are attracted to losers. Now, I will digress and explain what I mean. I heard one of my friends talking on Facebook about their previous relationships and how they were so blinded by the relationships. It didn't matter if this person had killed somebody, they were blinded by whatever this person had. I don't get it. I mean, I myself have been through a codependency relationship before. It's not healthy and it's not right. But here we're going to delve into it because it needs to be dealt with. And with so many damn people being stupid nowadays, I've seen this run rampant. So we are live today where drugs, demagogues, and dumbassery run everything. And most of you know what I'm talking about. You've got drugs everywhere. You've got demagogues. You know, you can point out a politician. They're probably a demagogue at this point. Especially considering most of our politicians are above 50 years old. 50 and 60 years old. And they're telling us what needs to happen. Well, whatever happened to us telling them what needs to happen. And then them just saying that. It sounds a little broken record-ish, but, you know... Or what is it? Not pedantic, but redundant, maybe. Anyway, my concern today for this podcast is what I've seen a lot of lately. This being why are certain people attracted to losers? Not just the common variety loser who is only called a loser because they have a low-paying job that they're endlessly working at. You know. The geek at the fry cook or the geek at McDonald's or the geek at any fast food place who's quietly flipping burgers. He's not really, he doesn't really have a whole lot of friends. He may or may not own a piece of crap vehicle, if own a vehicle at all. He may walk or bike to work. He lives close enough to work so he can do that. Or she. I've seen women do that too. But these are people who don't do much. They just read books. They kind of keep to themselves. And these people, a lot of us would consider losers. I know because I was doing that for years and was considered a loser. But I'm talking about the exceptional loser. You know, the ones when they say they work but can't tell you what they do or where work is. I've run into several of these people. I'm not talking 1 or 2. I'm talking, I have literally been around women or girls that they got around a particular kind of guy who was mysterious but edgy and cool and wore edgy or provocative clothing, maybe. Guys can sense this pretty well when it's done by another guy. The guy appears mysterious. He has money. He double talks a lot. But this can apply to women too, because I've seen women doing it here lately too. I've seen a lot more guys do it than I have women. Women learn it from the guys, and then they repeat this cycle. So they have cool or even radical clothes on, which I already talked about. I mean, for me growing up, the person who was the most radical is the person with all the everything that was dealing with flames or gothicisms, dark clothing, pale skin, had intelligence, or seemed to have intelligence, but their statements just didn't pan out properly. They didn't make a whole lot of sense when you put the whole thing into context. Run into a few women like that. Run into a lot of guys like that. They're edgy, they're cool, everybody loves them, but nobody actually knows who they are, where they come from, what their birthday is, or who their significant other is, or even who their parents are. These people are ghosts. And yeah, they do a lot of double talking, and they're always waiting for a ride somewhere. Quite a bit of the time they are. These are the people who, you get to a party, you're there for an hour or two, and the next thing you know, they're telling you, hey, we're going this way to this other party, you want to come? And here's what's funny is they bring up freedom and freeing yourself all the time. They really hammer it in. Well, why do you got to be like society? Why can't you let go of that societal construct? Stuff like that. I've met quite a few guys who say that crap, and I usually tell the female, leave it alone, walk away now. You will not regret walking away. Because I'm guaranteeing you, like a week or two, one of your other friends is going to disappear with this clownish ass hat. But females usually tend not to listen. Neither do the guys who are just too turned on to tune them off. Now, they tell you to stop letting other people determine your worth while devaluing at the exact same time. Well, you need to let go of society's assessments of you, what your parents think, what your friends think, and at the same time, they're like, why are you wearing those clothes? Why are you acting like this? Make it seem like it's your fault for questioning their interpretation of what you should be doing. They're tearing you down to completely debase you, to make you into doing that. They tell you to stop letting people determine your worth while devaluing you at the same time. They do this to subtly break you down so that they can maintain control of you psychologically. That's how they build their trust with you. Well, I'm the one who freed you. You should be listening to me. Or something to that effect. I mean, I tried doing that once, and I actually pulled it off. I mean, I successfully pulled off doing that crap one time to one person, and that's it. I won't ever do that crap again because it's stupid. I do that as a parent. I'm like, yeah, if everybody else jumped off the bridge, would you? Well, yeah, Dad. No, you would, because you need to think before you. If the bridge is about to collapse, then jump as far as you can off the bridge if there's no other way off it. But if you're on a perfectly fine bridge and people are jumping off it, is there a mass shooter? And yes, I'm aware today there's been a mass shooting in California. That being said, anyway, unless there's a mass shooter or there's a bomb on either side of the bridge, why are you jumping off a perfectly good bridge? Really? I mean, come on. This city in which I live has how many bridges? You don't see people jumping off that crap now, do you? Because we have brains. Now, my biggest thought process for the past 2 days has been, why do boys or girls allow these people into their lives? Why do they allow people to psychologically manipulate them? Best guess, in my opinion, is that they have some sort of mental or emotional instability, or it could be just a rebellion of everything they grew up with. Like if you've got very strict parents, rebellion of that, rebellion of belief systems from childhood, or in fact just your childhood period. You want to break out, you want to be this other person you're hoping to be. A lot of females want to be singers and songwriters, all this creative crap. Well, not a lot of women get to do that. The ones who are actually gifted and have talent and show it, those are the ones who get it. There are a couple that I know of who have gone on to have their own success and careers in music, no matter how short-lived. And I applaud them for at least living that life, no matter how short it was. But they did it honestly. They did not prostitute themselves out to get that chance. And if they did do any kind of prostituting of anything, that is on them, and they have learned to live with it. And I'm not going to badger them about it because I'm not them. I don't have to answer. I don't have to answer for their lives. I have to answer for mine. And if I judge them for doing what they thought they had to do at the time, I'm just as guilty as the people who smashed them. I don't care. I mean, like for me, I've actually had a sister who was an exotic dancer. And everybody in the family just kind of gave me, when they told me, they were telling me in secret, okay, so what? One of my nieces is provided for. What do I care? Seriously, what do I care? If they're being provided for and you're not actually prostituting and getting an irrevocable thing like herpes or AIDS, what do I care? Exactly. I'm not being judgmental on that, but let's go look further into this. With the rebellious side, I believe it's wanting to rebel and make your parents in some way regret everything that they did or didn't do, supposed slights or actual slights as you see them. And that's the part that really gets me sometimes here, is I see a whole lot of teenagers rebelling. They're not rebelling intelligently, but they are trying to rebel. My own oldest child, she was and is still being rebellious to a certain degree. And I've decided, because she's in the system, no, I didn't put her in the system, she was in the system, but she's in the system, and I've decided now to turn over a new leaf. Instead of fighting her and parenting her very strictly, telling her what not to do, what she can't do, what she's not allowed to do. Now I'm just kind of like, I'm a parent of a different sort. It's more, okay, if I want this relationship to work when she's older, we need to start with the friends basis first. I give her advice. I tell her what she should do, and what she can't do. Whether she listens to me or not is completely up to her. But she has the choice. Since she's not living with me, she doesn't have to listen to a damn thing I say. I get that. And because I don't want her being led down the path of stupid, I have to educate her as to what the options are and what she should take. That's my job as a parent. Now, the thing I don't get with a lot of these people who are bamboozled or taken advantage of by losers is they lead very quiet lives, they lead very sane lives, and a lot of the hot people consider them boring. But yet, who are all the exciting people coming to and begging for a chance with them 15, 20 years down the line? The boring people. No. You should evaluate what you're doing. It's not, being young is not all about just partying and everything like that. It can be. I mean, from the ages of 16 to 23, when I became a dad, I was busy partying, getting high, getting stoned, sleeping with an assortment of women, and came out the other end. When I found that I was a dad, all that crap ended. I mean, I used to be a pool shark and make a lot of money doing that, and pissed that all away too, because I was so dependent on what women thought of me and what other guys thought of me. If guys weren't jealous of me and women weren't hanging all over me, I had no self-worth, because the stuff my dad had me was watching with me when I was younger. It was a bunch of old 70s and 80s movies where the guys were macho and women were hanging on their every word, and the guy was kicking ass and taking names. And that's where I got my sense of worth from. Did I know any better? No. Did I have a real way to compare? No, absolutely not. Because while my dad was being a womanizing philanderer, right around that time, my one of my uncles was getting divorced, and we were fairly close to him, considering we watched his kids half the damn time because he was out trying to get booty. Yeah, the way I was raised was not how I should have been raised, but it got me up and running. I became the solid person that I am today. Have I always been mentally sound or emotionally sound? No, 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 no. I was emotionally unsound there for a while. What does this all have to do with being attracted to a loser? Several of the girls that I was dating or sleeping with, they were using me, and I was unaware of this because, I grew up fairly innocent with this mindset of, well, women need to be slathering all over me, and other men need to either be my friends or they're going to be my competition, which I have to stomp out. And yeah, that didn't work out so well for me. That was very early 20s. We're talking teens into the 20s. When I hit like 23 or so, I started really coming into my own at that point. But yeah, I dated a few women who were losers. Oh yeah, I've got a job, blah 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 blah. I ended up going around with them for 3 days, skipping whatever I was doing. If I had a job, screw the job. I want this chick around me. I want her to realize I'm in it for the long haul. That is stupid. I'm not talking kind of stupid. That is exacerbationally stupid. To want attention so hard, you're willing to give up everything. And that's toxic codependency. And I actually looked that up because I wasn't sure if what I described as toxic codependency was actually toxic codependency, and yes, it is. Now, if women weren't slathering over me, that affected my self-esteem and my self-image. It wasn't until I became a dad I stopped caring about that because, hey, I already had a kid. What did I care about what people thought about me at that point? In public, I put on a very brave face. Everybody was congenial, nice, but normally, like any idiot would, when a chick seemed mysterious or cool to me, that made me more the fool. Now, hold on a second, I'm going to go close my front door here. Oh. Okay, sorry about that. Now, as I was saying, this issue with codependency, I was emotionally and psychologically unstable at the time, so it seemed to me that my worth needed to be in the hands of these supposedly beautiful women or girls. These girls were more flash and bang than substance. They were glittery, sparkly. They had everything a guy could want. Normally, they had porn star bodies or whatever. They had boobs, hips, waists, and they flaunted those characteristics so the guys would do what they wanted. Now I can look back at it and see it. But these women had money, even though they didn't work. They couldn't tell me where they worked, let alone where their work was. Two of them I ended up finding out were call girls, so they were literally doing blow and goes and had money from that. Didn't tell me about it. I figured it out years later. But yeah, these kind of people look for the people who cling to them. And if they find somebody that they want, then they start preaching about freedom and freeing your mind, freeing yourself from the constrictions of what you grew up with and your parenting and what society expects from you. But when you're trying to get affection from them, it's, well, why are you doing this? Why are you following them? If you want to be with me, this is what you got to do. You got to do these things to be with me. And that is the trap. Utterly and soul motivationally, that is the trap. You need to do this to be with me. You got to drop your belief system and adopt mine to be with me. Because I can't be with somebody whose beliefs don't agree with me. That's a bit one-sided. Now, in case you're wondering, the signs of co-independency are as stated: having difficulty making decisions in a relationship, ergo letting the other person make all the decisions, whether it be a man or woman. When you can't make a decision in a relationship, or you have difficulty, that's when they know they've started controlling you, and they use it against you. 2, having difficulty identifying your feelings. This is a disturbing one. When you're so confused emotionally that you don't know what you're feeling, you think it's love, but it's not love, that's when you're codependent. Having difficulty communicating in a relationship. If you can't openly discuss your emotional or mental or psychological confusion inside the confines of that relationship, you don't need to be in that relationship. That's codependency. That's toxic codependency. Because the definition of toxic codependency is people who make their relationships more important than anything else, including self-well-being. That means you're putting everything onto this person. You need them for their opinions, their thoughts, their dreams, their hopes, their well-being. Everything comes before you. That's toxic codependency. And when you do that in a relationship, and you keep getting into relationships where you're sad because your needs aren't being met, guess what that means? You're in a codependent relationship. Get the hell out of it. Now, I have a couple friends who are in these relationships, and I won't mention their names. One of them, if she ever heard this, she'd probably call me just about every swear word that she can think of, but wouldn't come to much, as I know a buttload more swear words than she does. But yeah, she's had a codependency theme going on for years and years and years, and can't figure out why she's not happy, why she has mental breakdowns, why she has all, because of codependency. She's so used to being with losers, and she thrives on this need to please them and put their needs ahead of hers. I know, I did it for a while. Got the hell out of that butchery act because it was stupid. Now, the next one is valuing the approval of others more than your own. When you need approval from your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, stepmother, go on. Instead of valuing any of your own opinions and thoughts, bingo! Now, the last one, lacking trust in yourself and having poor self-esteem. If something in your head says, you need to go, guess what you should do? Go. Because inevitably, that voice in your head that tells you to go and get out, it's right. That's that little thing you've got called a conscience sticking up for you, telling you to get the hell out of the relationship. Now, I know there's a lot of hucksters and whatnot, or the losers as I call them, who tend to tell you that your own self-worth is useless because it's not based on their opinion, their set of belief systems. No, what they're telling you actually is, if you don't believe what I tell you to believe, when I tell you to believe it, I'm going to leave. You know what you should do? Let them leave, Johnny! Seriously, you should let them leave. It's not even an up for debate thing. And yes, I tell this to my own daughter, that if she gets in a relationship where everything's toxic, where she values them and their opinions more than she values her own, that's toxic. And I don't like toxic relationships. I hate them, as a matter of fact, because somebody is getting used. Somebody is being played in that relationship. Let's see if I can alter the turnstile here. Okay, yeah, that's better. I thought this little stand was going to make a difference. Nope, made it worse. Okay. Now, back to what we were talking about. When you're in a toxic relationship and that's all you've ever been in is toxic relationships, that means you're a total codependent and you need to detoxify your life. Not kinda, you really, really need to detox your life. You need to get with healthy, functioning people. Not resort to chain smoking or drinking or cloistering yourself in your closet. You need to break that bond. I speak from experience. I mean, I was with my oldest kid's baby mama for 9 months. I think in all actuality, we were together for 9 months. We were still bumping fuzzies afterwards, but we couldn't be in a relationship anymore because it was toxic to me. She was beating me, hitting me, putting me down. You know, I mean, when she's telling me I need to stop listening to everybody else, I need to listen to her. And at the end of the night, when she's after breaking me down all day, then she would perform sexual acts to bolster me to believe in her. Yes, I was stupid. I'll admit it. I was dumb. I'm not gonna say that I was perfect, because I'm not. But that's why I advocate so strongly now against getting with these losers, these users, so to speak, because they do not have a conscience. They're going to use and abuse you as much as they can because they can and because you let them. Now, having said all that, I think we as a society, when we get these people that come around us, what I hate hearing is people years down the road, like one or two of my friends, well, I've been unhappy for years. My partner doesn't listen to me anymore. He just whines and moans and complains. He can't do anything, blah, 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 blah. 2 words describe your situation. Leave him. Well, we've got kids together, and I'm sorry, but yeah. I was watching Dr. Phil way back in the day. We're talking back in like 2011. 2010 or 2011. And he spoke on the need to be in a healthy relationship, even if it's by yourself. Because these parents were feuding over their children, or these parents were feuding because they didn't want to get a divorce because they thought it would injure the children. Well, the problem is the children were being torn apart by the parents hating each other. Apparently, that couple got divorced and were being amicable to each other for the sake of the children, but not living together, not being married. Those kids all turned out just fine. Now, you can. I know women and men who have claimed that they were young and stupid. I know I was one of them. So they get into toxic codependent relationships. And what I hate hearing is I can't go anywhere. I have nowhere to go. Yes, I know. I said that one time. Excuse me. I said that one time to my father. We were alone in the living room, and I told my dad that I was getting beaten. I explained to him the whole situation, her beating me. She would tear furniture apart to beat my ass with it. After all this time, we're talking, this is like 3 or 4 months into it, I told him I had no way out. anything until the next day. I woke up in somebody else's bed at their house, and apparently my dad had knocked my ass out because I was crying and blubbering and being just in general being a broke down twit about it. I don't blame my dad for what he did. What he did was probably wrong in the long run, but ultimately, it pays off in itself. Now, a lot of women have this thing where they get with these guys for God knows what reason. They get them in front of their parents. Their parents are okay. They get with, they put these people in front of their friends. Their friends all like them, but there's something off about them. Then they get with them, have kids, break up, and then it's like, what happened? Well, he was a very abusive person. Why didn't you say anything to make him call? I didn't want to upset everybody. When you look for their approval, instead of maintaining your own well-being, you were just in a toxic relationship. That's what I'm talking about here. I mean, I don't know. I can't count how many women I've seen get into toxic relationships on purpose because that's what they're used to. And then they complain about, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. My kids are in trouble now, blah, 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 blah. The choices you made early on in their life affected them years down the road. You decided to get with some guy who was skinny and tattooed and you see as a badass, and he's in jail in and out all the time, and you were in this relationship for 5-6 years, your son grows up around that. He thinks it's okay because you're still dating the guy. So when your kid ends up in jail for doing the exact same thing, for being a loser, for following what that loser did, whose fault is it that that kid followed the guy you were dating? That would be you. You, nobody else. And that's why when, for instance, I have relatives who follow the same pattern. Had a relative who didn't want to pay child support on children. So he evaded it any way he could, or avoided trying to pay it any way he could. And the child support kept building and building and building and building. Well, he got up to a certain amount, and they slapped his ass in jail, where he complained to the judge that his child support was too much, and that he didn't have enough to live off. Even though when the judge went through his finances, the judge apparently literally looked at him and was like, "You have the money. You just want to do what you want to do with it instead of supporting your children." So he got stuck paying child support for quite a while, and yeah, it's insane. He fought and fought and fought because he didn't want to pay child support, or thought that the child support was too much. Well, he did have the kids with her, so guess what? And then years and years later, well, not years and years and years, we're talking maybe 10 years later, his son is avoiding child support, running from job to job to job to job because he's trying to avoid getting taken for child support. Well, you did have intercourse with her. She did have a child from that intercourse. Guess what? Child support happens for that reason. I know, I've paid child support a couple different times. But, yeah. Getting back to the point. And this is a really fascinating point, is I have a relative who's actually one of these losers. He's the one that manipulates women, does all this crap to them, and then when he is finally done with them, and has a few kids with them, well, those aren't my kids. You were sleeping with somebody else. He actually said that at one point to a chick who was a virgin. He was the first man she'd ever slept with, and according to what I understand, she hasn't slept with anybody since. She had 1 or 2 kids by him, and he was too cheap to get a paternity test because he didn't want to be paying child support. She got the she got the paternity test done when he went to prison, and then he ended up running from job to job to job because he was being chased down for child support. And then he meets another chick, and because he looks very young for his age, she thought he was right around her age. Then, like, I guess the day of the wedding, she finds out that my cousin is 2 years older than her dad. Yeah, he was that kind of user. I don't associate much with him. He's family, but we're not sure how to relate to him anymore because of what he does. That's the heater kicking on in case you can hear it. I'm sure you can. Now, what I'd like to see happen with society now, with these losers, create a generation of critical thinkers. Kids who think about this stuff before they just follow somebody. This isn't Twitter where you just follow somebody and they go where they might and you enjoy your life vicariously through them living theirs. No, let's raise some critical thinking children. So that when they turn into adults, it's not, well, I have money. Okay, how do you make your money? Where do you work at? And when those questions aren't answered, our children walk away. And it's not because they're asshats or disrespectful or morons. You have money, you should be able to tell me where you got it. Even if it's drug dealing or prostituting, who cares? If you can't be honest about where you're getting your money from, then what are you doing? You're playing people. That's what you're doing. Okay, now, the people who are... Now, I'm gonna switch footing just for a bare moment. What really makes me funny is when you get these women who literally before they're out of high school or literally right out of high school, when they say, "Oh, I was ready to settle down." You turned 18, you settled down, you had a few kids, and for quite a few of them, their kids got taken away. Okay, so you settled down. You had a few kids. You were subservient to your man, if you want to call it that. And then you have your kids taken away for doing really stupid things. Then you decide, because you've lost your kids, you can go out and party. You weren't ready to settle down. You wanted to have this life that your parents or your grandparents had, whoever you emulated as a kid. That's what the life you want to have. If it was your grandparents, you want your wife to do all this stuff for you while you just go and work, or if you were a girl, you emulated your grandparents, so you want to make your husband as happy as your grandfather was. Not going to happen. It's not going... You can't emulate a time that's already passed. You can try to. You know, I mean, if you want to live in a house that's like a log cabin or insulated like one, you can certainly go to Alaska or Oregon or Washington and live like that. I have no problem with that. But don't expect to have the old-fashioned pre-World War II values and lifestyle that your grandparents or great-grandparents had. It's not going to happen, people. You can't go back in time. You have to go forward in time. You can experience what it was, kind of what it was like in certain settings, like Alaska. And yes, I know I've been to Alaska. But that's kind of the issue of it, is trying not to be toxically codependent or codependent at all. And what I'm trying to teach my kids and everyone else I know as children, you need to learn to be independent. You need to learn to be self-sufficient. You can do both those things. You can do anything else in the world. In fact, if you're just out of high school, or you haven't even finished high school, and you're already pregnant with your boyfriend or husband's child, by my rating alone, you have already failed. Because you're perpetuating a cycle of Well, I love him. We need to have kids. No, wait. What's the damned hurry? And yes, I know that hits on one of my mini sets from yesterday, but that's the point, is to make all this stuff interconnecting, but yet dissect it as if it's a separate issue. And that's honestly a lot of how codependency can work. I mean, you got two young people, 18 or 19, hell, even 17, 18, 17, 19, whatever the age combination, as long as it's not too far apart at that age. And the girl's like, well, we're going to have a baby. Why? Well, because we want to settle down. You haven't even experienced life yet. You haven't been able to legally smoke a cigarette. You haven't been able to legally enjoy a drink. If you've done both those illegally, okay, so did I, but that's not the point. You don't get to go into clubs and experience what club life is, or the bar scene is, for that matter. I implore most kids to wait till they're older for all that crap, because what everybody's saying, 50 is the new 30 or whatever it is, I don't care what everybody thinks this stuff is. You don't need to have kids as soon as you get out of high school. If to me, it's kind of a waste of life, because you're going to spend most of your life raising another life, and then when those kids are having kids, and you're a grandparent at a very early age, you're calling your kids to come pick you up from the bar because you're too wasted to get home, because you messed up and didn't go out and party hardy. You didn't go out and achieve anything before you had kids. And I advocate for that. And a part of codependency comes in on that, because you've got a parent who's working their ass off because they had you too early, and because your parent was a codependent, they had kids too early and relied on that person, and that person left, so they're left being a single parent all of a sudden. Or they break up with somebody, get with somebody else who's as bad, if not worse, and they find themselves in a perpetual cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. This is a bad cycle. It should end, but that's because, like a lot of my contemporary female counterparts tend to cite that they're too, like when I talk about poly issues, well, they couldn't do that. They're not secure enough in that. Blah blah blah. You know, they can't. They have to be with one. They have to be with one man who only wants to be with them for eternity. I get that. I totally do. But at the same time, to me, it sounds like you're trying to emulate your parents' or your grandparents' relationship, and to not ever question it is just as bad. It's like going to church and listening to the preacher preach, but not critiquing what he's saying, or what passages he's using and what context those passages are actually in. Same thing. Yeah, we'll probably discuss this another time, but yeah, I'm going to start winding down on this. For all you parents who are listening to this, or even some of the children listening, I'm sure I have at least one teen listener, I'm not sure though. For any of you for the parents, be on the lookout for the losers, the people who will brainwash your child, double talk your child. And if the people come up to you and respectfully, when you ask them questions and they don't respond with a concrete answer and a concrete opinion of their own, and they literally, when you express your opinion, they don't give you an opinion back, bing, red flag right there. At that point, I would escort them from my house, be like, look, you've either got an opinion, or you're trying to use me to bolster some weird scenario you've got going on with my child. And if you're trying to bolster your position with my child through claiming that my values are off or something, then you will leave my child's life and never come back, or I will have to harm you. That's literally what I usually tell kids. That's what I advocate parents to do. For the teenagers or young adults listening to this, I say to you, be wary of anybody who double talks and can't tell you what they do, when they do it, how they do it. If they make money but can't tell you how or where their workplace is, chances are they're lying to you about how they get their money. And if they constantly make you they constantly make you question your values, even your own strongly held personal beliefs, they make you question that, and then put you down at the same time. Why are you doing this? Unless you're following unless you're following the mindset I am, what's the point of me being with you? That's a trap right there. Right there. I'm not joking. That's what everybody needs to be paying attention to. Mothers and fathers, moms and dads, stepmoms, stepfathers, all of them. Parents, grandparents, step-grandparents, all that. All of you need to help your kids do this. And kids, you need to grow a brain in high school and learn to critically think about these things. I had to learn the hard way. I don't want you to. That's the whole point of this. Now, as for a closing note, we might touch on this topic later, but not right at the moment because I have other issues which are vastly in need of addressing. My issue is writing, because I write slow. Now, to end my program today, I'd like to tell you about two different people. And I told you about them on the mini sets, but I'm going to keep plugging it because I can. Sprout the Anti-Hero. Great guy, awesome singer, awesome musician. You know, I can't speak about how truly awesome this guy is. And if I'm going to be totally honest, he had a show here in Wichita that I was supposed to go to. I was planning on going to it. And unfortunately, PTSD and anxiety and a panic attack, all three combined at the same time, hit me all at the same time. So I was planning on going to that concert over at the Elbow Room and couldn't make it because I was in tears because my anxiety was just killing me. I had anxiety or a panic attack at the time I was supposed to go. But I would like to tell you about Sprout the Anti-Hero. He's being nominated for 4 things at the Tulsa Music Awards. So if you would please, go check him out. Sprout the Anti-Hero. Look him up on YouTube, or I'm pretty sure he has a Facebook page. I would ask you to nominate him after you listen to his music. Listen to his music first. Listen to it first. That way you know what's going on. But go to TulsaMusicAwards.com, and he is needing to be nominated in, and you'll have to type these in. I would ask that you put him in for, nominate him for Video of the Year for Forward, Single of the Year, Sentimental Weight, Solo/Acoustic Artist of the Year, which would be Sprout the Anti-Hero under that one, and Album of the Year, Procurement. Sorry, for some reason I've got kind of a dry throat. As far as I'm aware, the nominating or the voting ends on December 1st, I believe it is. I'm going to send this to Sprout, that way you can hear it, but please go nominate him and vote for him. Do all that cool stuff. He really is a cool guy in person. I promise you he is cool. His language skills are not lacking at all. He has a bit of a foul mouth, but then again, so do I. I'm just keeping it mostly clean for this. But, yeah, go look him up, Sprout the Anti-Hero. Go to TulsaMusicAwards.com and vote for him in those 4 categories. You will have to manually enter those. Please do that. That would be awesome. And then, on another note, I talked about this yesterday, too. Go to the YouTube channel Tiffany Brooke, Tifffanee Brooke. As I told you before, she went to go apply for American Idol, and they wanted her to give some fake sob story. She didn't. And as I said again, I don't normally back just any singers. That's why there's a lot of singers that Sprout the Anti-Hero knows. I don't back them because they're not my thing, and It's not necessarily just because he's my friend, because I know him. He says somebody's awesome. Okay, they're awesome, but I'm not necessarily gonna vote for them. I'll vote for him because I know him, and I heard his music. Now, Tiffany Brooke, excellent talent. She's got an amazing singing voice. Hopefully you like and subscribe. View the hell out of her songs. They are good. She is just starting out. I'm not sure what she wants to do except other than be a singer, to which she is amazingly adept. And she's got a really good look. I mean, you can say she might be very attractive. I just see a very becoming young lady. Mind you, she's like 19 or 20, I think. So yeah. To put it succinctly, I was graduating high school back when she was born. So yeah, I don't look at her in that manner. I see a very well-kept young lady. She's very talented. She's very amicable in person. I did enjoy talking to her when I was talking with her in person at work. But please go look up that YouTube channel, Tiffany Brooke, Tifffanee, Brooke, Brooke. Please add yourself to her subscribers after you listen to her music or listen to her sing. I just ask that humbly. With that being said, I'm not sure what the next episode is going to be about because I'm sure there are a myriad of things that we've talked about. Plus, like with the impeachment inquiry that's going on right now, and I did watch some of it yesterday, and yeah, it's going to be something else. So yeah, I'm going to start working on the next thing for this podcast after I get done with this one. Because I got a bunch of canoodling around on computers to do. Because yes, I have a couple computers that are broke down, still trying to get them working. So yeah, have fun with that. And yeah, it's been an experience. Hope you guys got something out of that. And I hope to God we can stop this user culture from spreading too much farther, because if it keeps on going, we're going to have plenty of people who are going to end up down a creek, you know which one I'm talking about, without a paddle. So you guys, use your brains, think critically about everything, question everything, even question me if you have to. I'm okay with being questioned because I grew up questioning everybody else. So yeah, it's been an experience. Have fun.